Ian from Lean Media. I've been an Amazon seller for more than 20 years and an Amazon publisher for more than 10. I share my knowledge on this video channel, but I also offer professional consulting services, and my most popular service by far is Dr. Amazon. This is a flat rate consulting service. It basically looks into Amazon detail pages and helps other sellers and publishers understand what's working, what's not working, and specific steps that they can take to improve their sales and cut down their costs. I've included some notes below, but also here's a sample video walkthrough from Dr. Amazon. Let's take a look. Hello, this is Ian Lamont, and this is the Dr. Amazon report for Sulene Book 2. This is the video walkthrough segment of the report. And basically what I'm going to be talking about over the next 15 to 20 minutes are detail page optimization and conversion rate for this particular book. Now, the publishing team came to me and they said, for this book in the series, it's a young adult series, book 2 for some reason is lagging in sales compared to book 1 and book 3 in the series. And so they want me to do an analysis of why this is happening based on the detail page. And I'm going to try to set that up. So detail page optimization basically means taking the elements on the page so they help browsers turn into buyers. And basically, if I say there's a conversion rate of 2%, that means 2 people out of every 100 people in the target audience arriving at the detail page are turning into buyers. That's a 2% rate. 5% rate, that's better. That means 5 out of every 100 are turning into buyers. And you can see on this chart that actually has a huge impact not only on sales, but also on cost. So that means if you have a conversion rate of 1%, in order to sell 10 copies, you basically need 1,000 people in your target audience to arrive at that detail page. But if it's a 10% conversion rate, which is really fantastic, you only need 100 people in your target audience to hit that detail page in order to convert. So that, of course, impacts your Amazon advertising and other marketing costs. So when I talk about detail page optimization and conversion rates, basically I'm looking at all of the colored elements on this detail page, which the publishing team has some control over, and trying to identify how they can be improved if they need to be improved. Because basically when a prospective reader comes to a detail page like this, there's certain things that they expect, and if the things don't meet their expectations, they're less likely to turn into a buyer. So basically, I want to help the publishing team, pull the right levers on this detail page to turn a low performing detail page into a high performing detail page that converts very well. So I'm going to go over these various factors, not only for the desktop version, that is the browser version that you might use on your computer, your home computer, or your laptop, or your tablet, but also the mobile version, because a lot of Amazon sales, more than 50%, currently take place after people browse an item on their mobile device, either using the Amazon app or a mobile browser. So let's get to it, and let's get started with the Dr. Amazon review of book 2 in the series. And actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the detail page, and let's take a look right now. So here is the desktop version of the detail page. You can see that this is the cover for book 2, and then you have the title, description, different elements. If you scroll down, you'll see that indeed this is listed as a series. And actually I have to say that some things about this detail page were done right. That includes setting it up properly to be part of a series. Sometimes I see series books on Amazon and they haven't been set up as a series, and what happens is people come and see book 2, but actually they can't find book 1 or book 3 or book 4. So this publishing team fortunately has done it right. I can see that this is there's book 2 and there's book 3, and then I'm assuming if I click through I can see book 1 as well. So book 2 apparently is suffering in terms of sales compared to book 1 and book 3. So let's see what's going on with that. So the first thing I always take a look at is the cover. Now at a basic level, the cover for this book actually looks like a professional cover. You can see it's been professionally typeset, and they have an image of the woman, who I'm assuming is the heroine here, a castle in the background. So this kind of evokes a medieval type of story. And then if I look at book 1, we can see it's actually the same lady. And then book 3, it's also this particular person. So there's a couple things I noticed about the covers when I compared book 2 to book 1 and to book 3, and I think it's important to understand what those differences are, because I think that could have an impact on the conversion rate for book 2. So taking a look, for instance, at this is book 3 in the Sulene series. You can see that the cover actually it's the same person, but it looks lighter. It looks a little bit more inviting, particularly if this book is targeting like a young adult or a young reader type of demographic. If I were a parent buying this book for my kid, I'd feel a little bit more comfortable about this cover compared to the book two cover, which is a bit darker, And I know that I have kids myself, and I know that when they're little, there's a certain phase where they get into scary stuff. But the whole setup for this particular series, the Sulene series, is it's kind of inspiring. So this is kind of a dark cover compared to the other two. That's one thing that I noticed. The other thing I noticed, and you may have seen this on book three, there is it won some kind of prize, the Independent Publishers of New England Book Awards. It's a winner. So I'm wondering why this seal appears in book three, but not on book two or book one for that matter. So if book two is indeed part of the winning series, if this prize was awarded to all three, I would get that seal on every single cover in the series. And the other thing I would definitely do is reconsider kind of the darkness of book two, because this is a much darker cover than the other ones. And I think for parents or for kids that are browsing it, it may be a little bit off-putting, which may indicate why the sales for the book haven't been as good. It's like it hurts it a little bit. Okay, so let's move on to the next part of my Dr. Amazon review, and that includes taking a look at the title and the subtitle of the book. And one thing to understand about publishing on Amazon, depending on which program that you use for publishing, you may not have any control over making any edits to your title after it's done. So I'm not sure if this was done through KDP or Amazon Advantage or one of the other professional publishing programs, but if it was done through KDP, you can't make any changes. But the good news is that I don't really think that the title and the subtitle need any changes. It's very clear what this book is about. It's the Art of the Red Heart Healer series, book two of the Sulene trilogy. The only thing I would say about this is that the title and the subtitle don't include anything about the fact that it's kind of set in medieval England or France or something like that. But because you can basically tag this book as about those topics in the topic area or the genre area, I don't think that's as big a concern. So the title and subtitle look pretty good. Okay, moving on. The next thing is the author's name. So there is a link to the author here, but one thing that's missing is actually an author photo and a link here. So usually on most books on Amazon, you can see who the author is by looking at the bio photo that's right below it. And a lot of people are drawn into that. And let's take a look at an example, actually. So this is a book that my company publishes. I'm a publisher as well. I've been publishing for more than 10 years. And you can see the author's name, Angela Rose, and like a little kind of a funny little bio picture there. And if you click through, you can see a bigger version of this picture as well as a descriptive bio. But for some reason on Sulene, that doesn't appear here. So I do see the author's name up here, Ursula Pearson. But there should be, when I hover over this, there should be a picture of the author as well as kind of a little bit more information about the bio. It's not happening here, and I'm concerned about that because a lot of readers and also parents of readers, because this is a book for younger readers, they want to see that. They want to see who this person is. It helps with trust, and it basically helps the conversion rate. So if you do not have a professional bio, a photo or a bio at all, it really needs to be added. So I would get going on that right away. The author can do this themselves through something called Author Central, and I understand that some publishing teams, they may need to help out the author to do this if they're not familiar with the technology, but I would get on that right away. So that's a missing element that needs to be fixed ASAP. Okay, so the next element is the ratings and reviews, and there's 14 ratings and reviews. This isn't enough. Actually, let's take a look at book one because I think that is a better example. So book one has 81 ratings and reviews, and that's like a really kind of a solid kind of critical mass. I think for a book like this, you need at least 50, preferably over 100. And indeed, if you look at let's see if we can find it here, like historical European fiction. If you look at the books that are in historical European fiction, you can see oftentimes they have hundreds of different reviews going on. So I would be taking a look at that. Like some of these books actually have thousands of reviews. I would be taking a look I would be taking a look at ways that this can be improved so there are more reviews. One service that I use for my own books, and I used it for this book, for instance, when it was released a few years ago, is a service called NetGalley. And NetGalley basically matches up publishing teams with readers and librarians and booksellers and people like that. And basically, these readers, they give a review of these advanced reader copies of these particular titles. So they like to talk about the books that they're reading. They like to get a free copy of it. And basically, NetGalley is a service that sets up these relationships. It's totally okay to do ARC book reviews on Amazon as long as you disclose the fact that the book was provided for free to the reader. This is a long-standing tradition in book publishing. And as long as the NetGalley reviewer is doing it, they can leave a review on Amazon. Many times they also leave a review on Goodreads as well, and Goodreads reviews are brought over to Amazon in many cases. So I would consider signing up the Sulene book, not book one, but book two, with the NetGalley service. The book, it's okay if the book was published some time ago. You can still use it to get reviews. One thing to consider, however, if you're doing a series book in the NetGalley program, is people generally want to read the first book in the series before they go into the second book. So you may need to actually set up two separate NetGalley giveaways for book one and for book two as well in order to get those reviews. And in my experience as a publisher using the NetGalley service, usually about 10 or 15% of all the reviews that are submitted to NetGalley are also cross-posted to Amazon or Goodreads as well. So that's basically the math for that. I think there is a huge demand for young adult books, good young adult books. So hopefully that program may work out for you. NetGalley, by the way, you can go to netgalley.com to learn more about it, but I've also used the program that's available through the Independent Book Publishers Association. They have a discounted NetGalley program. That's really a fantastic deal, and I use it every time my company releases a new book. So get some more ratings and reviews. You want at least 50. Even more than that, like more than 100 would be ideal. Okay, so let's move on to pricing. So this book has two prices. One is $2.99 and one is $4.67. That seems to be kind of unusual that the book is available for $4.67. And I see that the print list price is $7.99. So there's a little confusion there about what the actual list price should be. I would look in to see what's going on with these new copies showing up for $4.67, just to make sure that there's nothing unusual going on with the way that the books are being published. One thing that you should always be aware of when you are selling books on Amazon is kind of what other books in the same genre are selling for as well. So let's take a look at children's medieval fiction books and see what the prices are for that. So these are basically the comp titles that you can use to evaluate pricing. And I can see that the books, $12.58, $8.99, $7.99, $8.30, $5.99. So I think that the prices are kind of in line with what other books are selling for. However, for the Kindle edition, it's a little bit of a different story, and let's take a look at that. So this is children's medieval fiction books, and notice that they break it out by top paid, and top free. So this, increasingly, there are free books available using the Kindle Unlimited program, and unfortunately, in certain categories, this actually draws away a lot of interest from the paid Kindle books, especially in areas like romance and I think science fiction as well. I'm not really sure how it's playing out for children's fiction books, but I would be looking at that. Interestingly, it looks like there's only one other book that's free in this, and that may reflect the fact that parents aren't getting a Kindle for their kids. So actually the main area that this book is available and that this book is being purchased is actually the physical book. And I know parents these days, they like to give physical books to their kids. They don't want them just looking at a screen all the time. So that may explain what's going on with why there's so few free books available in this particular genre. So while we're on the topic of genres, let's get into that a little bit. One thing I did notice when I was looking at the genres for this particular book, so this is book 2. You can see it's number 141 in children's medieval fiction books. And actually, that's a really good ranking. However, you can see the overall ranking is just 1,800,000. And again, I think that gets to the fact that for the Kindle book, there's just not that many people getting Kindle books for their kids. They want to get real books for them. Let's take a look at the paperback and see what the sales are looking like, and also see the genres. So you can see it's not that good either. It's number 7 point, nearly number 8 million in the Amazon ranking. So clearly this is not selling that well, even though it's number 946 in children's medieval fiction books. So a couple thoughts about that. I think this relates to the ratings issue that we identified before. I think it relates to the darker cover compared to the other books in the series, which we talked about before. I don't think pricing is an issue. But one other thing that I did notice about this particular book, so book 2 is in children's medieval fiction books. But if you look at, oh, that's interesting. So here's I just noticed something else. The series is listed in the Kindle books, but it's not listed in the physical print books. I do see book 2 of 3 in the Sulene trilogy. All right, so if I go to this page, I can see what the breakdown is. I noticed that on book number 1 in the series, the categories are a bit different. So here's book number 1. Scroll down. So this one is teen and young adult medieval historical fiction. All right, I think that's appropriate. But I noticed in the Kindle edition, it was a little bit different. So in the Kindle edition, this is actually historical French fiction and historical European fiction. And there's a big difference there because the Kindle edition are for kids categories, which is correct. However, the printed edition is for kids categories. The Kindle edition of book 1 is for adult categories. That's only for book 1. For book 2, it is in kids categories correctly, and I have to take a look at book 3. Regardless, you need to make sure, the publishing team needs to make sure that when you set up the genres for a particular book, they really need to match each other. You can't have series like the first book in the series being classified as an adult book, the second book in the series being classified as a kid's book in a certain genre, and then the third book maybe being classified as something else. Choose 2 or 3 categories that this book really matches, and I don't think that this is an adult book by reading the description. I think this really is a kid's book, and make sure that the categories are appropriate for the book. Just 2 or 3 of them, but just make sure that they're uniform for a series book. So this is actually something, if you fix it in the print in the book 1, it may have a positive carry-on effect to book 2. But regardless, just make sure that it's uniform across all the books in the series. Okay, so let's take a look. Let's go back to book 2 again. And there are a couple other things that I wanted to talk about. The first thing is the description. And I know that a lot of publishers, particularly people who are self-publishing, they pay a lot of attention to the description. They'll pore over it, they'll tweak it, maybe they'll have other people read it. I don't think that this is as important as the cover itself. The cover and really the images associated with the book, and that includes the sample image or the look inside image. That's really a key aspect of the browsing experience and the conversion experience. Interestingly, I don't see the look inside here. I'm not sure why that is. Let's take a look at the second one. Yeah, so this is interesting. So I can see that the back cover and the front cover are there, but for some reason the Kindle edition is not showing up as look inside. All right, so they are showing it here, but it's just not called look inside. I don't know what's going on with that. Anyways, getting back to the topic at hand, the cover image is way more important than the description. I would be spending more time on getting the cover right than getting the description. That said, the description is important for some readers. I think particularly for this type of book where the parent is the customer, they're going to read the description first to make sure that it's okay for their kid. The one thing that struck me about this description is, even though I think it's okay, it's encouraging, it gives away too much information. If you're writing a description for a book, regardless of the topic, you don't want to give away the plot. You want to hint at it. You want to kind of make sure that it's interesting and engaging, but just don't give away the plot. And this really goes plot by plot throughout the whole book. There is a little question about a relationship issue in the book, but it's giving away so much. And that's a reason for people not to get the book, because, I know what's going to go on. And I'm not really interested in that part of it. So don't give away too much. I would redo the description, make it a little shorter. Definitely hint and encourage people, but don't give away the whole plot. And I'd also like to know on book 1, Book one, the description actually I think is really well done. It really hints more than just gives away the plot, and I think that's one reason why there's so many ratings for this book and the sales are better compared to book two. Okay. One thing that was missing from this book, not just this book, but the other books in the series, is something called A plus content. And A plus content used to be known as enhanced brand content. This is now available, I think, to practically every single publisher on the Amazon platform, regardless of whether you're using a Amazon KDP, Kindle Direct Publishing, Amazon Advantage, or one of the professional grade publishing programs. Amazon lets you create A plus content for free, and you may be wondering, well, what is A plus content? And I'm going to show you. So this is a book that my company publishes, and you can see if you scroll down about midway through the detail page from the publisher, you can see that there's some extra content there. It's very visual. It does include some text. In this particular case, I've included kind of little synopses of the other books that are related to this particular title. I've included some images from the book itself. Like here's a page from one of the books that has a chart on it. This, of course, is stock photography, but you can use that. I've seen fiction books taking a completely different approach. Sometimes they'll use things like a highlighted review. Sometimes they'll use some extra images they had maybe from the cover design sessions. There's lots of possibilities for A plus content. The good thing about it is not every publisher is using it. I think probably only about 10% of published books have A plus content on it. So if your book, Suline, has A plus content, right away it stands out from every other book, not every other book, but most other books in this particular genre. It's another way to convince browsers to become buyers. You could take things like professional reviews. I saw that in one of these books you had a map. Maybe you could use a map in the A plus content. There's lots of possibilities with it. One other thing you can do with the A plus content, you can see it at the bottom of my own published books, is I have a comparison chart. So I compare these 4 books. It talks about, whether it's about Microsoft or Google, desktop software, et cetera, et cetera. And you can do this for Suline as well. You could do it for all 3 books in the series, make a comparison chart. So every time someone comes to the detail page for a Suline book, regardless of which book it is, they'll see that comparison chart. And by the way, you can also easily duplicate the content, the A plus content on each one of the books, so you don't have to kind of reinvent the wheel for every single book that you have. So this is a really helpful tool that Amazon is giving you for free. In my summary report, I'm going to include some links that explain what A plus content is and how to use it, and most importantly, real examples from the fiction world as well as the nonfiction world that will help you design effective A plus content. And one thing I just want to be really clear about, A plus content, it's not easy. It's not something you can just slap together, or it's not a case of just taking the existing description and then just pasting it into an A plus content module. No, you really need to put some work and some thought into it. But if you have effective A plus content, it can really help convert browsers into buyers. Because, for instance, a browser coming to this particular page for this book my company publishes, they'll see it's not just a one-off book. They'll see that, oh, it's actually part of a series of books. They'll see some examples. They'll see some other engaging things about it. So A plus content can really help. I would definitely check that out. Okay, so I've covered a whole bunch of things with the Suline Book 2, explained what I think is working out well and what is not working. The next step is for the publishing team is to get working on making some changes to the book. I think the area, just to summarize, the main areas are the cover. I would rework the cover, rework this description. Pricing looks okay. Ratings, definitely need to work on that, probably using the NetGalley or a similar ARC type of program. And I would definitely be adding A plus content to the mix. One other thing that you might consider, I see that you charge a price for the Kindle edition. You may consider enrolling this book in Kindle Unlimited. That lets you drop the price to $0, which is a huge attraction for people that are browsing books. However, there are some drawbacks to that, including the fact if you have the Kindle book available for free and you're running advertising or marketing campaigns, it becomes really expensive because you're not making a profit on it. And in fact, the only way you can make a profit on it if you're selling this book for $0 is either selling thousands of copies of the book every month, which is not realistic, or getting people to buy the print edition of the book. And speaking of kind of getting thousands of people to buy the book, this gets back to the conversion rate issue that I was talking about before. Let's look at this chart here. So, if you want to sell 1,000 copies of this particular book and you have a 1% conversion rate, you need 100,000 people to visit the page. If you have a 5%, it's less, it's 20,000, but still, that's a lot of people. I mean, 5% is an excellent conversion rate. Amazon won't tell you what the conversion rate is, but if you're running an Amazon advertising campaign, you can see what it is. Getting 20,000 people in your target audience to your Amazon detail page, you should really be thinking about how you're going to do that once you fix the detail page and what sort of campaigns and assets might support that. Certainly, Amazon advertising is one option. The other thing is social media. Like if you have a TikTok presence, or if you can participate with some TikTok influencer or some Instagram influencer, I'd be looking at that. And maybe there are possibilities to do that. But that is a discussion for the marketing team and the sales team and the publishing team to figure out how you can get thousands and thousands of people looking at this particular title. All right, one last thing that I wanted to mention is the mobile page. So let's watch the slideshow here. So the good news about the mobile edition of this book, when I searched for Sulene on the Amazon mobile app, it came up right away. So there's no other book or product on Amazon that has the same name. That's great. That means people will see Sulene when they're searching for it right away. One thing I did notice when you're looking at the mobile detail page, it's pretty sparse. Like these are basically the two main content areas for book 2. You have a picture of the book, you have the title, you see the ratings, and they actually look bigger. And then you have the description, the whole description. I've already talked about the fix that you need to make for the description and also tweaking the cover here. The other thing that you can really put on the mobile detail page that will help it convert is A+ content. When you create A+ content, in addition to having a view of the desktop version, which looks pretty impressive, and I've showed that to you before. Like this is the desktop version of the A+ content. This also shows up in a different way in the mobile edition, but it's very visual. It helps convert people into buyers by reassuring them about the content, or reassuring them that this is a professionally done book, and basically helping the book stand out compared to other books in the same genre or other books that they may be considering. And I'm saying this, of course, assuming that the A+ content is done well, and also you're reaching your target audience, because it really does need to be people that like that type of book for the A+ content to work. Anyways, that's my video walkthrough for Sulene Book 2. I'll also be including with this Dr. Amazon report a summary report of all the points I just covered, and as well as a copy of the slideshow, so you can refer to that later on. Thank you so much for watching. If you're interested in a Dr. Amazon evaluation for your Amazon detail page, go to leanmedia.org to reach out or leave a comment below. I also have more information and links in the notes below. Thank you so much for watching.